Hello, my name's Jeff Banks and welcome to Retail Insight here at the Spring Fair. I'm delighted to have with us as a guest today is the fabulous Sarah Ward, who is the Chief Executive of the Giftware Association. We have Giftware royalty with us. But the reason for this is we're in celebration of this being the 75th anniversary for the Spring Fair. 75 years, and it's still the biggest trade exhibition that in the United Kingdom. Quite an amazing feat, really, and it's still going very strong. So, Sarah, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome.
And tell me what it is that the Chief Executive, Giftware Royalty, actually does at the Giftware Association. What's your job?
We wouldn't have enough time to go through. I think in a nutshell, it will interest you that I suppose most people's, if you were going to have a job description today, you'd probably get a nice A4 piece of paper, wouldn't you, telling you what your purpose, your remit,
one line.
Everything. Yeah.
Humble
I have
tailor.
one line, and mine says to ensure that the industry thrives and survives.
Okay.
Which actually is a really nice thing to sort of say that you do.
So how many members are there in the association to get an idea of scale on it?
Well, we're sort of an interesting, in trade, I won't bore anybody, but in trade association world, majority of sort of creative or types of businesses like ours would have a few hundred members. We have about 4 times that size, so we're just under about 800 by the time we get to the end of the financial year. That's a tiny little toe in the water considering the tens and tens of thousands. I mean, I don't know how many gift companies there are, because what is a gift? It's everything that we give to each other, from an item of small furniture to a beautiful piece of jewellery, to greeting cards every day of a week to celebrate things. So, but we're a very small team, and our purpose on a day is to ensure that any company, no matter how large or small, gets the support and advice
whether
that
they're
they
a member
need.
or not.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because we feel very strongly that if somebody calls in, we're not that kind of association that would say, do you know what, actually, Jeff, you're not a member, so I can't help you. Of course we would help, and of course we would like people to join, but I think especially more so, I think, since, the tough times of sort of COVID and Brexit, and the impact of that, it's very important to support people. And, generally then we don't do a hard sell. We're not a commercial business. We're a not-for-profit organisation. So every penny that comes in membership is reinvested, bar obviously the overheads, and hence why we've got such a small team. And then I spend an awful lot of time surrounding myself by great people who can offer the sort of expert advice in the areas. I don't profess to be an expert in all of the things, but, I will have a very macro view of what's going on, and then we can ensure that we're guiding people to that right sort of support that they need.
So what will members come to you for advice on? Would it be on intellectual property problems?
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Would it be on financial problems? Or would it be marketing problems?
Everything.
What do they actually come to you for?
Well, the top things, number one of the things that are asked is to talk about trade fairs. And that really genuine, that is our number one. Not last year, the year before, I actually did do 52 trade shows in the year. I do about 36 in the UK. So as most people that know me within there, I will start the year and I will visit all of them because it's important to me. You can't.
There are 36 trade fairs going.
Yeah, and a lot of those can be, we're one of the countries who've got the most. In our sectors, we've got the most. So some of those they're little regional ones.
Yeah.
I do go to the very tiny of shows. I go to a lot of the creative ones. I was just talking a moment ago about, some of the more fashion and gifting products that are within those sectors. And I think that's important, because how can I sit or talk about things if I haven't actually...
So gifting would include things like jewellery?
Absolutely,
flowers?
Yeah. It's interesting. There's a lot of other shows that now, things like sustainability, there are new shows coming up that, maybe cover organic products. We have some great shows at the NEC that cover more foodie, and all of the behaviours and all of the things are different. But within all of those shows, there will be an element that is gifting.
Yeah. And are you visiting many in Barcelona, Monte Carlo, Las Vegas?
Well, I'd like to say I do have a strategy for that, and
Yes.
it comes to, we put a small amount of budget every year, and then I will ensure that I'm visiting ones that our industry is looking to sort of do. So last year, there were a lot more companies looking to exhibit in America, so then I picked a show that I personally hadn't been to in a number of years, and actually went out and visited that. So,
and what did you reckon when you got there? Because a few people have said here today, they think Spring Fair is arguably the best show in the world. In my own mind, I've been kind of mentally comparing it with like Maison Objet and thinking how it relates to that and the differentiation between the two. So, yeah.
Well, I think every country has, doesn't it? The personality of a country and the ways that they do things. There's very practical differences in terms of some of the trade shows, the larger ones, Spring Fair being the biggest in the UK for us, and then comparably what the other things add to a company trading. I mean, yourself, you've doing business around the world, having a brand presence in different shows doesn't work for everybody. But certainly, lots of the people you've spoken to today, they have to be at Spring Fair. It's incredibly important in the same way that myself and my team, you have to be there.
So you talk about the personality of a show.
Yeah.
How would you describe the personality of the Spring Fair? What personality has it got?
Gosh, that's an interesting question to ask. I don't know. I think...
Is it humorous? Is it fun? Is it glamorous? Is it sexy? What is it? What's its personality?
I'd say eclectic.
It is?
Yes, it's eclectic for a number of reasons.
Is it comfortable as an exhibition? Is it?
Well, I think you're in a... there's... Knowing the NEC, the setup and everything. I really enjoy the NEC. And I think that's come from a place that when I was a wholesaler, for the 20 years I've been in this industry, I still get excited driving in, and I park in exactly the same place every single year, because I will park in the car park I like, in the same spot, and an awful lot of people do that. I feel proud when I get to walk into this great environment, and I have the sort of set place, that I like to start and I like to go in. But actually the personality of the show, you still, for my role, because I have to walk and talk every single inch of it. Yeah. And I think sometimes people are quite blinkered because they'll go with whatever remit their business, and they go in and they go, right, I've got to achieve this and I've got to go there. And maybe they're not as lucky as I might be to spend a larger amount of time and be able to be there, from the minute that the floor hasn't even gone down and the stand hasn't even been built, to the minute the last piece of rubbish is cleared out of there. And you will see so much every year that you haven't seen before. But you only know that if you've actually walked every single bit of it.
Well, it's interesting. We've had quite a few buyers that we've been talking to today. And to everyone, they've all said it's essential that they walk every aisle, every stand, because in the one that they miss, it might just be the thing that could actually make or break their season, which is interesting. So I think a lot of the professional buyers, they know they've actually got to walk the course. For me, I guess the question I'm asking you is, do you still get a buzz when that show opens, or do you actually in the morning get up and think, oh, not another show?
No, I don't. It's like going on your holiday, isn't it? It's like the night before I'm due there I don't sleep properly because it's that sort of bit of like, I need to get up. Is it time to get up? Yeah, and go.
What do you think the future is for your association, given the uncertain retail climate that there looks like being over the next 25 years?
Yeah, it's very challenging. I mean, I know that a lot of people use the word collaborative and things, and we as an association, I think it's different because I'm not running a commercial business anymore, even though your thoughts are that you would like to. We run the industry's awards, gift of the year, and there's a lot that can be offered through that. But actually, as an association, it's about working more closely with a lot of the other similar trade associations that is key for me. There's a lot we can do together to build our power. I'm not so pessimistic as in when we're lobbying and supporting. I mean, I've got involved with lots of things from, groups like Save the High Street to working with trade associations that are not directly linked to us, like the fashion councils, the British Independent Retail Association, and collectively there's a lot more that we can do to kind of strengthen and help businesses that are in our sectors, and that's very important to me, because kind of when you're navigating how you can get a voice heard, because that's how important is getting our voice heard and then seeing improvements made. So it could be to government, it can be to Bank of England. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating because, again, like to a lot of things, you'll get a lot of change, and look at us now, you can go to umpteen roundtable discussions and have some really meaty retail conversations, because the gift industry is lumped into all of retail.
Yeah.
And actually, for the last couple of years, post-COVID, there's been a lot of interest in our sector, because during COVID, food, supermarket, garden centre, they were all very buoyant. They had the best retailing experiences. Yeah. Well, of course, now that's changed. So, of course, such a huge industry employing such a vast number of people, and, the conversations around demises of high streets and councils not being able to, there's an awful lot, but you can only influence that if collectively the voices together. People talk about lobbying, but you only lobby something if actually you've made a significant difference. All of us can go to a event, a meeting, and sit there and say, I would like this changed. But actually, do you? You're not, unless you've actually physically resulted in that change happening, all you've been is another voice at a table.
Yeah.
And for me, that would be.
So what's the biggest change, if you could wave a magic wand, that would actually make our retail industry better?
There are two things, I think, at the moment. I was talking about this earlier, that are key. If we could get retail outlets supported, so those bricks and mortar shops supported with their rents and rates to be reduced, I think that would help enormously to inject some much needed.
Rent and rates one.
Yeah. And then I think from a supplier, if you picked one for a supplier, then, late payment is huge. I've been at the helm of the association for nearly 9 years. And every single government meeting I've been to, that's been on the table and nothing changes.
What? People consistently
late paying, not paying at all. Money doesn't move around as freely as it should. And if it did, we'd all be in a better position. Think of the change curve. If a retailer has money and the retailer can give that to the supplier and the supplier gets, it would go round. And at the moment, it stops everywhere because that cash flow, they haven't got it. Or, the borrowing has increased, young businesses, the expense of going to a trade show. If more of that money moved more freely, a lot of European countries, it is deemed as being almost theft, or, there's a lot of, it's very common in a lot of other countries to charge interest to people, and therefore it is almost illegal to not pay somebody on time.
So those would be big changes that would improve.
I think they would
members.
Enormously help. I mean, there are so many, and for different types of businesses at different sizes. I mean, you've got experience in that, Jeff. You know that at one moment in time, what may be significant to you. I mean, pick now. You know, if you know, container charges weren't as they were. You know, that's my thing at the moment. You know, most of our strong importers. You know, that is, you know, really again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it can be crippling to a business.
So overall, in terms of, I don't know if you have to make an annual speech to your members.
Yes. Not necessarily to the members. We tend to do it in a really nice environment.
What's
of the
nice
Gift of the Year awards.
The awards
so
ceremony.
I do what I call the State of the Nation speech.
The State of the Nation.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure when this is going to go out, because tomorrow is going to be a very critical moment in the history of this country, unquestionably. What will you be saying to encourage, whenever this speech is going to happen, to actually will them forward with a sense of purpose and a sense of drive? What is it that you would do in your role to encourage that with your members? What's the message going to be?
On the spot, it's quite difficult to answer that. Not because I don't have strong views around it, but I think if I was to go for something, would be more to be a bit more caring about the bigger picture. I think sometimes we're all guilty of being a little insular in our own business needs, you know, of what it is driving, and in some cases that can sort of trickle out in a competitive nature. And I think as an industry and running an industry body, I've really realised how important it is to sometimes drop anything like an ego, bravado, drive you've got yourself, a personality trait, and actually work, really truly champion something or work together to make significant change.
Being less greedy?
And I think there is a lot. There's sometimes where you are naturally in an environment of competitive nature, an exhibitor at Spring Fair will not want you to see the customer that they would really like to have and buy from you. Of course you wouldn't of stuff, but actually when it comes to things, the politics being taken, I suppose the bit would be, the punchline, and more like, let's take the politics out of it. And actually, truly, if we are all genuinely wanting this industry to thrive and survive from those sort of bits, then, there are those times that give yourself, business leaders to put themselves in that moment and work on something. I mean, today I've seen aspects of that, the advisory board being pulled together, and actually people that sometimes might have been on different sides of the fence, they're all enjoying and actually working together to support something. And actually, I got a sense of today that they really feel that they're adding to some change.
And willing to cooperate?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And are you the catalyst or the conduit to make that happen?
I think that is exactly where you see that. There is no one person doing it.
Who's going to do that?
If you don't have all the... we have... Laura leading that, and Stephen supporting, and then the rest of us, it's picking people with good skills to come to the table and actually work together and actually sometimes listen to each other to actually make some effective change. And a few of the team from Hive have come in and spoken to me today, and they've said that actually they've really got some great things that have come from this, that maybe if you hadn't done that together, maybe the questions wouldn't have been asked for Hive, and maybe the change won't be seen at our future shows. It's all very well to moan about it. That's the easy thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the doing.
Yeah.
If you had to use one word to sum up Spring Fair, what would it be?
Ooh. One word. Oh, gosh, that eludes. Do you know what? It's funny because so many people describe it. I've had so many meetings in the last couple of weeks with young Gen Z companies who've almost used the words, and this isn't in a derogatory, sort of saying it's a beast. But actually now I'm kind of thinking, where you've asked me that, it could be quite a nice beast. It's that king of the king or queen of the jungle. It's like,
beast.
let's have a bit of a roar with, it'd be nice, 75 years.
So what, they were using it derogatively?
Well, more in that sense, isn't it? It's too
But
big for me. It's something I can't, I can't, be a part of. It's too scary. It's, and actually, no, let's turn that on its head. Actually, you need all of those to be kind of in the jungle and everybody doing that for, I think it's a bit of a beast.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much indeed.